41. Lahu, Jitado, liquor, acquisitive, drinker. Liquor, drink, to drink the liquor, to drink liquor. Tupinamba, Shaba, Ajo, Saj, Shajo, his face I ate wash, I him face wash. Washed his face, I face washed him. An example from Lahu, which is spoken in China, Myanmar, and Thailand, the form in the first column indicates that liquor is drunk as opposed to tea or water, and we may be dealing with a known type of container full of liquor. The form in the second column indicates something about drinking liquor in general. In the example from Tupinamba, a language once spoken in Brazil, the phrase involved is pragmatically the same in neither case, but while the form in the first column puts some stress on the fact that it was the face and not the hands or feet which were washed, the form in the second column represents washing face as a typical unitary action. Note that the verb with an incorporate object in the lahu of the example is intransitive, whereas that in the tupinamba example is transitive, while as was stated earlier, the most frequent type of incorporation involves a direct object of the verb. Other patterns are also found. Firstly, sometimes a subject noun is incorporated, particularly with an intransitive verb. The first example is from Payoti, by for begin to sit remote past. It got foggy, or it fog began to sit. The next example is from Tikilima. Next example is from Takilima, a language of Oregon. Mott Walker, son-in-law, arrived. He visited his wife's parents. Nouns which are in other relationships to the verbs are also found in 44. There are two examples from the Mexican language, Nahold, in the first of which an instrument noun is incorporated, and in the second of which an object of comparison is incorporated. In 45 there is an example from Payuti with an instrument incorporated, and in 46 there is an example from the snake spoken in Kenya and Ethiopia with a locative incorporated. Nikatel Wasta Nikatel I ate fair roast the meat Sha Chi Kyoto Ni in no quick flower blossoms said my song blossoms like a flower. We to ono po he knife stab remote past. He stabbed with a knife. Lunch chicken egg or head. Great one verb focus perfective third sing. Tritai perfective third sing. One good. It tied to the three compounds formed by reduplication were discussed in section 3.2 above. In English, some other European languages, there are also some words which are compounds in one sense, although of a rather unusual variety. The two examples involved in their make-up are not English lexims or lexims of the other European languages involved. Lexims of the classical languages, Greek and Latin, these are words such as biometry, biology, geology, and geometry. Their status and the rules governing their formation are not clear at the moment, and they are something of a linguistic idiocy because they are new words coined in modern languages, but from Greek and Latin elements. These words are called neoclassical compounds. 3.7 Alphabet based formations, some ways of creating new lexemes, but not ways of creating new word forms of lexemes depend upon the existence of a writing system. They are thus not universal, since not all languages are written, neither do they clearly belong under the heading of morphology, although they are included here, and for the sake of completeness, in particular, two types are relevant here: blends and acronyms. Blends are also called portmanteau words because, as Humpty Dumpty explained to Alice, they are like a portmanteau. There are two meanings packed up in one word. In some cases, two words are simply merged where they overlap so that no information is lost. But repetition of letters combinations is avoided. Glass is spelled glassfeld, war plus chasm, war chasm, slang plus language, language, gas plus estimate, gastimate, swell plus ligand, linked. In many of these cases, the overlap is phonetic as well as orthographic, but not in all, as can be seen from Glassfeld and British received pronunciation. In most cases, however, there is no overlap, and the new word is created from parts of two other words with no apparent principles guiding the way in which the two original words are mutilated. So examples of these types are given below: measurable plus flimsy, mimicy; parachute plus balloon, pyrrolone; dove plus hawk, dock. Here, it does not seem to be possible to predict that the words would not be flycerable and bloodshot instead of what actually occurs, although there have been some attempts at predicting both the words or both the other of the element in such plans and the final phonetic form for any two given words being blended. It is also extremely doubtful whether such words can be analyzed into morphs, and thus we can question whether they form a pure part of morphology. The answer to this may depend on theoretical assumptions about how morphology works. See further below, section 12.5. Acronyms are words coined from the initial letters of the words in a name, title, or phrase. They are more than just abbreviations because they're actually pronounced as new words. In many cases, the acronym may be selected before the title, which it purports to abbreviate, or at least the title may be manipulated in order to give an acronym which is considered suitable for the group concerned. This is particularly the case with pressure groups which are in the public eye. Some examples are age, acquired immunity deficiency syndrome, basic beginners, all-purpose, symbolic, instruction code, SALT, strategic arm, limited talks. WASP, with Anglo-Saxon Protestant. Acronyms tend to merge into blends and clip compounding when more than one letter is taken from each of the word of the title, as in the German Geheim Staats Polizei, Secret State Police, or Gestapo. Other, even more complex forms of similar types are found. Consider the following examples from Indonesia, which illustrate both final and middle letter or letter combinations being used to form new lexemes. Danyon Command, Battalion Command, Ikbong, Economin, Kunegen, Economics Friends, then Bemben Kunnen, and Development, Handship, Buttihan and Civil Defense, Irrigen, Inspector General, Tipur, Jenny Timper, Combat Bad Troop. It will be clear the blends share with compounds the fact that they involve two lexemes in the base clippings above. Section 3.5 may also, at least in some cases, be orthographically based. Unique mobs are mobs that trepanate. Unique mobs are mobs that occur in only one fixed expression in the language under discussion. Occasionally, unique mobs can look like potentially free mobs, as English kit in kit and kin, or at least in the days before scoring powders, vim and pico. Even here, though the mobs are bound to these particular locations more frequently, there are unique mobs which look like obligatorily bound mobs. Examples are utter and laughter, earth and inert, look and lukewarm, cran and cranberry. Because of this last example, such items are sometimes called cranberry mobs. The status of unique mobs is determined by parallelism with other mobs which are not unique. The third in laughter is seen to be a suffix because of parallels with things like arrival, marriage, injection, which also have a verb in first position where the meanings are relatable and where they are clearly repeated suffixes in parallel constructions. Cran is considered to be some kind of root because of parallels, and blackberry, blueberry, cloudberry, snowberry, waxberry, and the like. We must demand parallels of a general type before we analyze a unique morph in order to avoid analyzing a unique morph in here. The meaning associated with a unique morph is determined by subtracting the meanings associated with the known morphs in the construction from the meaning of the construction as a whole. So the meaning associated with cran is precisely what makes cranberries a subset of woolberries. 3.9 Suppletion. Although morphologists are continually seeking regularities in the pattern of language, there comes a time when they have to admit defeat, when word forms of what appear to be the same lexemes are so different from each other that they cannot be derived by the general rules at all. In such cases, we talk of suppletion. Consider, for example, regular verbs. In French, the patterns in the present, future, or imperfect can be illustrated with the regular verb donner to give. Ji don e, ji don or I, ji don is. In this verb, the root don can be seen in all three forms. However, when you look at the verb alert to go, the pattern is completely different. G, vis, G, J, all is. Although some of the endings can still be recognized, the roots are so completely different that we talk of them as being suppletive forms. Historically, this is explained by the fact that they are derived from different verbs. Suppletion is shown in English in the lexeme good with the two forms good and better, and the lexeme go with the two forms go and went. In the example cited, it is not controversial to claim that suppletion is involved. We shall see later, though, that the boundaries of suppletion are not clear and that different people draw them in different places. 3.10 Conclusion. Can be seen that there are a large number of ways of building words in the language of the world. Compounding is an extremely common method of forming new lexemes, otherwise fixation, and in particular suffixation is clearly the most common way of building words. Other processes can, to a certain extent, be seen as deviations from these expected norms. In most languages which have morphological structure, they are minority formations. They are the processes which cause problems of description. Some explanation of why this will be given in chapter 14. References of further readings. Quotation of page 24 is from an acronym review of a beer and in its evaluation the critical choice from November and example from Matthews. So on and so forth.